Okay, we're live.
Okay. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Thank you, 6:30.
Miss Jennifer Haggerty,
Here,
Miss Laura Pataki, not here. Miss Dana Andres, not present. Mr. James Preston,
Present.
okay, and Miss Judy Stazak, present. Okay, we have a quorum.
thank you. On routine matters, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting of Board of Ed dated last week, August 18th, 2021.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have C is an invitation for visitors to address the Board of Ed this evening. Do we have anybody who would like to address the Board of Ed?
Hi, I'm Dawn Gillen, Riverside Ave. I have one daughter left in this school district now. And I would just like to say that Superintendent Joe answered my email that I sent to him with a video of a doctor addressing his school board in Indiana. And what he said to his school board in Indiana was that he was a specially trained physician in immunology and inflammation regulation. And he claims that the CDC and the Board of Health does not bother to read the science before making these mandates of masks. And he said that everything recommended by the Indiana Board of Health and the CDC is contrary to the rules of science and counterfactual, that the masks do not work for coronavirus, the molecules pass right straight through them, and they are not necessary. And I highly do not want my child to wear a mask, let alone for most of the day. And I know I just talked to Mr. Pitt, and he explained how that is not going to be the issue or the case in the school. But there are many studies which Dr. Scott in Indiana refers to and submitted to his school board, that these masks do not stop the coronavirus molecules from passing through. It is not acceptable to put these masks on the children at all. It's not necessary. I am highly against it. I don't like the idea at all. I would rather have my children come to remote school learning like they did last year, rather than have them come here and wear a mask. It is not education at all to do that. And since I sent Superintendent Joe that video, it has conveniently been deleted off of YouTube, but it is still existing, and I do still have the links, which I will forward. But I would just like to say that I would rather have my kids come to remote learning rather than wear the masks. I'm highly against them. And so you folks should follow the science and not the CDC like Dr. Scott claims. And I will forward that video to you. So, thank you.
Dawn, thank you for sharing your concerns about that. Really appreciate it. I also saw the same video, and there were some very compelling scientific arguments in there with links to those with many references. So I really thought that that was a great example for anyone who doesn't know my background. I have a degree in biochemistry and molecular biology and a master's degree in environmental health and toxicology. And I would urge anyone to listen to Dr. Scott. He really did make some great points supported by science, and also mentioned that the reservoir apparently is in animals. And so when that happens, that doesn't get completely eradicated no matter how much you vaccinate. I think additionally, there are some issues related to the lack of an emergency declaration the inability of the governor now to create an executive order around that. So there are a lot of legal liabilities for now the school district because the state has not actually put forth another executive order for this. And so that's part of the reason why the Department of Health has backed out on giving this guidance. Now, we all know that could change, but that can only change now because the governorship was stripped of the executive order capability. That can only change now if the legislature does it. Currently, the legislature is not due back in session until January. And so given that situation, we are under no legal binding, there's nothing legally binding about the mandates. There are only recommendations currently. And I think as a school district, we really need to keep that in mind because we could be held legally responsible should we decide to violate, and I have a letter from an attorney, should we decide to violate the law. I have concerns as a board member that we would actually be putting ourselves in a position of liability. I took an oath to the New York State Constitution, as I did to the US Constitution, and I plan to uphold that and oversee that as a board member, and I would call on my other board members to do the same. Thank you.
And I would just like to thank you for presenting your information in a respectful manner. I believe that our discussions here are civil, and we've heard some other board meetings where they weren't. So your approach is very much appreciated. We have diverse opinions among everybody and passionate ones, and I'm always happy to continue a conversation with you, but just wanted to thank you for the approach and professionalism in which you came for your conversation.
Thank you for letting me.
Anyone else? There you go.
Do you have anything for communications? No? Okay. Board of Ed items. F is consideration for agendas to be, additional items. I don't think we have any this evening. And G is the assignment of action items. So we'll go on to 2 reports. So Abby, are you the first on our agenda for reports this evening?
I would
With Mr. Palmer.
We both are. Well, I want to say it is nice to be in person for the first time in a long time. Been quite a wonderful summer, kind of getting back in the swing of things. So we just want to take a few minutes tonight just to talk a little bit about our SEP, or basically our educational plan for the upcoming school year. I believe we've done it the last 3 or 4 years. A very healthy process of bringing together different stakeholders and collaborating as a team on kind of what we want to focus on for the upcoming school year. I'm joined by Abby Alex Hansen, one of our 4th grade teachers and team leaders. She was on that planning team. We had some other teachers, Amy Mooney, one of our grade 5 teachers, Kristen Crouch, another grade 4 teacher, Trish Nixon, a grade 3 teacher, as well as Eric Ferrone, our new students. We had 2 parents that were nice enough to, very generous to give up their time, because it was really a number of meetings. We had Jennifer LaBelle and Ashley Ash. So really a great team. It was a great process this year of putting it together. In past years, we've kind of been told, listen, you have to develop goals in these areas. For the first time, we had the flexibility to determine as a team what's important to our school community as we move forward. So we found that to be very healthy this year. We were able to use student interviews. We interviewed about 25 students. So we got their thoughts. We all completed a self-reflection as a team that helped us kind of derive what's important as we move forward. And then we took kind of a peek at last year's plan, some of the data, what went well, what didn't, but it's kind of skewed because last year really was hardly a typical year. So I just want to chat a little bit about our first commitment. It's an obvious one, and one that I think will always be one of our commitments. We really just want to keep improving our instructional practices to make sure we're providing highly effective and rigorous instruction. We want to have great teaching every day. We want to have great lesson plans. lessons. We want to keep improving in that area. It's an obvious one, but the last part I want to highlight is that rigorous part. How do we make sure all the students are getting challenged on a regular basis, right? That we're not tending to lean towards maybe the middle of the class, but we're looking to make sure that every kid is challenged. So as a group, we kind of came up with 6 strategies, things we wanted to do to ensure that. One of the things that we thought was really important is to provide daily tier 2 support. So that's your remedial math, your remedial reading. We thought that was critically important coming off of obviously the pandemic where we had a loss of instruction. We had kids that were fully virtual. We had every kid that missed some form of instruction. So how do we get it to them every single day? In the past, it's been very difficult. We've only been able to offer it every other day in grades 3 through 5. By grouping the students by need, we're able to finally give it to them every single day. So we thought that was tremendously important. The second one is something that we've been working on for a number of years, the use of active student engagement strategies. Basically, I would imagine most everyone in the room probably learned the way I did. It was likely a teacher in the front of the room, right? And you were sitting passively. And so how do we change that? How do we get the students more involved in the lesson? And so we talked about strategically having opportunities for students to respond. Thumbs up or thumbs down, how do you feel? Turn and talk to a partner about this, and then have the kids share out. Use of whiteboards, show us your answer. Teach your partner how you solved it. Basically making sure that they're with you, that they're not just sitting there idly. Differentiating instruction. How do we meet the needs of all students? We have some students that are a little bit higher academically. We have some students that are struggling. How do we meet the needs of all the students, right? We talked about the use of small group instruction, breaking them up into groups. Again, trying to avoid the temptation of just hitting that middle group. We want to make sure that the students that need help get that support so we can move them on with more rigorous instruction. We also want to make sure the students that are ready for it, we challenge with more rigorous instruction. This one was an important one, monitoring students or progress monitoring using data throughout the year, benchmarking and then monitoring in between the benchmarks to make sure, are students showing growth? Are they improving? We tried to do that last year, but it really didn't work out because of the pandemic. We're excited to be able to do that this year, to have more data at our disposal so we can actually start having some conversations about students and making sure they're moving forward. And one of the last ones, how do we engage the students? Well, we talked about using project-based learning, engaging them with projects that mean something to them, that they can relate to the real world, not just telling them this is important for you to learn because it's in a textbook. And kind of similar to that, inquiry-based learning, where you give students an opportunity to explore the material, ask questions, talk to one another. Again, not saying this is important because it's in a textbook. So trying to feature more of that. And finally, more team planning, collegial conversations, meeting with each other to create plans, theme-based instruction that means something across all the different subjects. So a number of things that I think the team did a great job putting together. So we're very excited for hopefully a more normal year this year to implement some of these strategies. And at this point, I'm going to turn over the second commitment to Abby.
That's good. All right. So I'm just going to read the second commitment. There we go. When we thought about this last school year and this school year, of course, academics is our #1 priority, but we all had a crazy year last year. And one thing that as a teacher and as a staff that we grew with the students was social diversity. So our second commitment, it says we will commit to promoting more of an appreciation of social diversity in our school community. In promoting this appreciation, we will focus on having a school community in which individuals bring their different knowledge, background, and experiences together to benefit their diverse community and our classroom community as well. So let me explain that. What we did as a group, as a committee, is we kind of sat down and said, where do we need to focus? And one thing we were able to do was to do the student surveys and to interview students and ask them, where do you see the diversity in the classroom? We have very diverse classrooms. We will always have very diverse classrooms. But where do we show the appreciation of that diversity? And a lot of the students kind of looked at us like, I don't know. So we as a staff know that that's super important to recognize, to acknowledge, to understand, and to accept many different diversities, many different cultures, backgrounds, and for the students to allow them to express their backgrounds. What are we doing to kind of make this work? We then formed another committee that is going to work together to kind of highlight each month with a different theme. We have always, through Character Ed, had our respect and citizenship and responsibility, but we think as a committee, we can kind of tie those two things in together. If we are talking about perseverance, or we're talking about body positivity, accepting your body, accepting who you are, it allows the kids to appreciate themselves and to appreciate others. So we are planning that, and we are coming up with different themes for each month, or for most of the months throughout the school year, and they will tie in with respect and responsibility, so we will still acknowledge the Character Ed through that as well. We are also going to be creating a section in the library where teachers can go to find the resources. Many teachers want the resources. Many teachers want the support to promote this in their classroom, to appreciate this and show that appreciation in their classroom. But we need to make sure that we as a committee can build that library for them so that they can go to the library and say, we had this discussion in class today, where can I go to, picture books are amazing. Find a picture book to support that in the classroom. So that's one of our tasks, is to build that section in the library. We're also looking at doing a book study where we can kind of work together, collaborate as a team across all grade levels to see where we can all, help each other improve, because that's a big thing. We learn from each other. And we're also going to hopefully have the opportunity to visit other classrooms. We teach the kids through modeling. That's what we do as teachers. So it helps us to be able to watch other teachers and have them model their lessons as well. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. That's our plan. And of course, we're going to be continuing to look at the surveys that we will give the students in the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and probably more towards the end. Because we'll know if it's working, if the students and staff feel that it's working as well, and families, of course.
No, I would say that was an amazing thing the last few years. Probably something we should have been doing all along, is actually surveying the students and really getting a sense of how they feel about a variety of different topics.
What age was surveyed, Jeff? What age?
I think we did grade 3 and up.
Yeah, okay.
Some of
and
the
we did
questions were
interviews.
actually-
Some of the questions would have been pretty challenging, some much lower than that, but it was great interviewing the kids. And we learned so much from that. I mean, that's something I would think we'd want to keep always, is to keep that part, for sure.
And they kind of told us, at first they were nervous, but then when we kind of opened up and we were, laughing with them, and they're like, oh yeah, this time, this happened in the cafeteria, and this happened, and this, so they were able to kind of express themselves too, which was good for us to learn.
No, learned a lot from this.
No, I thank you, and the committee, because I know there was a lot of time that went into
It
it. There
was.
was morning meetings, afternoon meetings, evening, so I want to thank everyone who was on the committee for doing that and their dedication.
It was probably a good 6 or 7 meetings. I
Yeah.
think. But it's a terrific plan. It was a great experience this year. And I think the ability for us to determine what's important to Rensselaer City School District, what's important to our school community, not forced to choose certain things, but be able to determine what we think is important. I think the team really appreciated that, especially those that have served the last few years, like, this was much better this year. So,
I think this and a lot of the SEL learning that they're doing in the classroom that
Yes.
we've had the opportunity to do is go hand in hand, is gonna be wonderful.
I think also it's tying together with character in a way, and this is a practical application of these touch points that we're giving you, and it seems really great to tie those together.
Yeah, I think-
Second level.
yeah, hand in hand, we're hoping it goes with one another, so.
I mean, really, it's teaching kids to be good people, and it really all ties together.
Can you guys explain what the PACS program is?
I guess.
Amy, no, the way I view it, but then I'll let Amy, because I know she presented at the end of the year and was a big part of the team bringing it in.
Okay.
But the way I look at it, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like a system or kind of a set of expectations that every classroom teacher will implement in the classroom to create some consistency and continuity between grade levels and classes.
Like behavioral expectations or?
I believe so, in a
Oh, that's
kind of a
great.
way to establish your classroom environment, right?
Yeah, it's really a classroom, it's called Good Behavior Game is actually, the name of the, classroom management system that's in the form of like a game, where kids are encouraged to use positive behaviors and they kind of earn points, and there's all kinds of activities that go into creating a culture and community in the classroom that supports appropriate behaviors. So it's more of kind of creating that system in the classroom than it is like a curriculum, like some of the other social emotional learning curriculums that they're delivering, you know, pro-social training. It's more of a system of how we kind of interact with each other in our classroom and reinforce
good.
those things.
And the consistency across the grade levels is
Right.
great, so, yeah,
Right.
that's great.
And actually it was great because we were able to give teachers those kits at the end of the school year so that they could look at them and get ready. They're getting a lot of training right on the PD days to be able to implement it, you know, right when the school starts, which will be really nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the second conference day is a full day of
Full day.
training on the program for everyone, so.
Just to go back, I think what Mark said is exactly right. The way you integrated that with the characters, that was just brilliant.
Thank you. Is it okay if I just mention these few other things? Just to
Knock it out.
Circle back.
You
So
earned it.
real quick, I just wanted to touch on summer school. It was an awesome experience, summer school this year. It was great to have the kids in. We haven't had summer school since, I can't even remember. But we had, I would say consistently 150 kids. So a random sampling of different days of attendance, we had 150. I would say overall, you know, kids may not have been in it every day, but we probably saw at least 175 kids come in at some point over the summer. But just talking to teachers and talking to kids, I think the kids appreciated full attention, in-person learning, a teacher that is not necessarily split between a screen and them, so kind of more traditional learning. And I think our teachers felt the same way. I really like just teaching in person. I don't have to worry about icons on the screen. So it was a really great program. The kids were happy every day coming in. And I know Mr. Pitnell will probably touch on it too, but I know you had consistent attendance too.
Yeah.
But the kids seemed thrilled to come. It was very, very successful. As we look at some upcoming things, just so you're aware, we will have a new student orientation on the 30th. It will be in person, but we'll be able to distance in there. Same thing for pre-K. We couldn't do it last year, but we are going to do an in-person orientation. Won't be quite what we always do, but I'll do it by homeroom. So it'll only be about 20 families or so at a time versus all at once. So that'll be September 3rd. And then, as you know, our first official day is September 7th. We welcome everybody back. All right, so, any questions? All right, great.
While we're transitioning presentations, I just want to say, I think the outcome of this process was really evident as they presented it. You look, and like, this is great stuff. I just want to speak to the process for just a minute. One, it's awesome. We have our teachers dedicated to volunteer their times to come in and design an improvement process. Like, this is owned by our teachers. That means it will be followed through really well. This is going to be successful. The other side of that is, I've watched for 3 years, this is the third year we've been through this process. I've watched for 3 years, Jeff has advocated back to state ed for more flexibility for us to be able to own where we want to go, to take away some of the restrictions. And he's worn them down to the point where our teachers are a little more unleashed in what we're able to do to meet the needs of our kids. So the entire process and the commitment to it has been really good to watch unfold and watch us improve it from multiple layers. So kudos to everybody who spent time on that. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks to all the teachers that volunteered. It can't not make us better. I mean, it's awesome.
I will second the summer school. I will second summer school from a parent perspective and a child perspective. He completely enjoyed coming here. I think this is a mom shaking her head over here. But I didn't think it would go sell well with him, and he enjoyed every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my kids were there every day. They looked forward to going, and you know, when it was over, they were like counting down. They're like, "Can we just go one more week?" I'm like, "No, your teachers deserve a summer." A few weeks, but they, you know, things they learned, and like my son came home every day with like a new book, like because Amy Mooney and Megan Alonzo were doing like the history of Rensselaer, and we would drive around Rensselaer with the books pointing out the different places that he had learned about. Like he was so immersed in the whole.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's cool.
Thank
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Megan, we'll turn it over to you for the next report.
Thanks, Jen. So we had the external auditors here last week for the June 30, 2021 fiscal year. We had a clean audit, and we shall hear from Ken Claflin, our auditor, the partner from the firm, in September or October. And he'll present a synopsis of the financial statements. Of course, I'll get a copy of those. And on that note, I provided you with the budget status report as of June 30, 2021. The one thing I did want to highlight was the fact that we already had started spending the stimulus funds under the CARES Act. That was the first round of stimulus money that had come out. This is a smaller portion. It was in the 2021 budget. We did spend about a third of it. And I thought it was worth mentioning because that funding did allow us to have an aide on every bus for the 2021 school year so that they could take temperatures of the students as they're coming on, which really no district in this region was doing other than us. So that was a huge help. Plus it provided extra supports on the bus as we were all navigating this new circumstance that we're now living in the pandemic. And there was also a funding available for remote learning. That was also a huge help for us. And additional coverage for teachers and staff that were in quarantine when we had to cover their classrooms. This funding allowed us to help with paying for that coverage. So we will see continuation of that portion of funding, but it was significant help for 2021. So, and when I say a third, that's about $120,000 we got of that funding. So along the same lines of the stimulus funding, I did want to highlight the very careful plan that we had put forth for the much larger portion of the federal stimulus funds. You may remember in March of 2021, there was $122 billion came from the federal government for states and schools. And that was specifically to help safely reopen and sustain schools, to sustain a safe and healthy environment for the schools, and of course, address the impact of the coronavirus on our students. Through myriad conversations with internal and external stakeholders, and also with surveys and communications, and meetings, of course, we put together a very carefully outlined plan that allows us to ensure the continued safe operation of the school and also address those social, emotional, and academic needs of the students. And if you will indulge me, I'd like to review a few of the highlights at least for the plan. This is also available on the website. This plan was submitted to the state. The state will review the federal funding to ensure that the grant is applicable and the funding is where it should be, basically, as they do with any grant. So the first portion is what we're referring to as CRSA, Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. The total amount of that funding was $1,194,294. That funding is eligible through September 2023. So we have several years to spend that. The plan for that is to do some repairs and maintenance on the current boiler system in order to ensure that we improve and sustain air quality in the building, as well as the safe operation of the heating system, of course. We currently are on a condensing boiler system, which typically only lasts about 15 years. We're hitting that 15-year mark. And about 5 years ago, we started already incurring problems with the boiler. So we have been troubleshooting them the best that we can. We have 2 maintenance men, Jeff Jesmith and Tim McCabe, who have done an excellent job of maintaining them. But it's time. It's time for us to look into repair and maintenance alternatives. So we're seeking that out. We're doing a study to see what the best alternative is so that we have a plan in place that makes the most sense for us. And as of right now, we're looking at something that's a hybrid so that we have cast iron boiler with potentially condensing boilers.
What's the longevity of that, Megan?
Well, it would also be a hybrid. So typically the cast iron usually lasts about 30 years. However, the air quality is not as good for 30 years. So then it would have to be a combination basically of replacement, which would also help us so then we don't have to replace an entire boiler system again in 15 years. We are also looking to investigate and study the district's roof systems and wall systems. We have what's called a TPO roof system, and the roof is pulling away from the edge metal on the edges of the building. And we're seeing that there could potentially be infiltration of water into the walls as a result of that. Also as a result of the EFIS that they put on the walls when they built the building. Particularly, you would notice it on the auditorium side of the building, which is where we're experiencing more problems. We have less sun exposure over there, so it sort of makes sense that we would have a little bit more of a water infiltration problem on that side. They will be doing a study to ensure that we have the right plan of action as well to correct roof and anything that may have gotten into the walls. We will also look to replace 10 cracked or broken windows throughout the building. There's a smattering of windows throughout the entire building that definitely need to be replaced, so we'll be able to do that. We are also going to purchase and replace over the years of this grant high efficiency filters for the rooftop units. We have high efficiency filters for these and they're high quality as well, which also means high cost. So we would like to be able to utilize this funding to cover costs of that. We also have a portion for remote instruction and live stream capability upgrades to ensure that the district continues to deliver quality remote instruction and streaming capabilities as circumstances expand and evolve as well. The larger portion in the next section is the American Rescue Plan Act, and that's the acronym is ARP. The total amount of that funding is $3,385,920, and the spending is eligible through September 30th, 2024. This is broken down into a few categories. The way that the federal government disseminated the funds, they required that each state disseminate 90% of its total ARP funding to local educational agencies, which that's why they call a portion of this 90% allocation. Then there's a summer enrichment, after school, and learning loss portion. These are specifically allocated to respond to students' academic, social, and emotional needs. Quick highlight on those, which will have less explanations than repairs and maintenance of the building. I'm gonna hit the highlights in the interest of time, but again, I encourage you to look on the website to see the full plan. Under the allocation and the learning loss, we'll have 2 elementary school teachers on this plan for all 3 years of the plan. We're adding an instructional technology teacher, again, for all years of this plan. We'll also have high school alternative education teacher and teacher aide, and a middle school alternative education teacher for all those years. Then there will also be tuition for special education services. There was a recent mandate that we need to continue to provide services for students over 21 where necessary. So we will be using stimulus funding to help us with the cost of that. And then summer enrichment, as this parent so kindly talked about how wonderful it was to have the summer program, stimulus money helped us have that program. And it will continue to help us have that program for the next years through the life of this grant. And then, of course, not only does that cover the cost of the teachers, but it's also the bus drivers, the nurses, maintenance, cleaning staff, because a lot goes into a summer program. And then after school, we'll be concentrating on teachers, hiring teachers, or using our own teachers for literacy and math, learning loss. And also a big part of that will be mental health assistance. And then lastly, but not any less important, we'll also be including field trips to places like college campuses, educational centers, and museums. And we have a significant amount of funding set aside for that, so.
Good.
It'll be unlike what the students and teachers have seen in recent years.
Yeah, everybody needs a field trip.
So I know I put a lot of information out to you, but do you have any questions at this moment? So that's all in application status. We have not received the funding yet. We have not been awarded the funding so that we can proceed with spending it. But we do anticipate that it will be approved in the very near future.
I guess I do have a question about the roof system. Is that standard, the time frame for this sort of malfunction?
A TPO roof, typically it's more like 20 years.
Okay,
We are exploring warranty.
yeah,
However, the company that actually laid the roof is out of business. So I can guarantee a struggle with the warranty portion of that.
yeah.
We do have some funding through a NYSERDA grant
Okay,
that will allow us to do the study
Okay.
as we push for the warranty.
okay,
That's good. The warranty will not cover anything that may be in the walls though.
Mm.
Yes.
The airport, similar kind of roof and similar issues. It took years. They were working on, I've been there at least 5 years for them to get it where it's not leaking and opening up. And it's
How long
probably,
had it been on there, do you know?
well, probably about 15 or 20, because remember they did the big international upgrade, so, and it started to go, and I think at least 5 years before they got the contractors to get it right, millions of dollars. So I mean, this is probably half the size.
Will the
Yeah.
study include,
This
like
is not the entire roof, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Just to be clear, it's not the entire roof, it's sections of the roof where it seems to be moving apart from the edges.
does the study include a mold evaluation?
Okay, well,
Okay,
yes,
very good,
yes,
thank you.
absolutely, good question.
Thank you, Megan.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Are we going to Dave next, or?
I think she was just getting.
Oh, it is me, sorry.
Just getting ready.
Worried about the computer.
I would be too, sorry.
Let me take this out.
All
I'm
right, Dave.
listening to the stream, and it's like 15 seconds off. It's really weird. By the way, the stream sounds good tonight. This is the first time you guys are facing this way. We're streaming from up here. It does sound pretty good. We've got a few people watching. I think I've seen 11. But it's nice to have people back in the room. I wanted to cover just how we've been doing with our damages and turn-in progress for Chromebooks and things like that. We still have about $6,600 out there of damages that haven't been paid for. We have sent letters home to those people, and in addition to all the things that we had done previously with calls and emails and all that good stuff. But we still have $6,650 out there. We still have about 42 Chromebooks, 3 iPads, and 5 hotspots that have not been returned this summer. I expect a lot of those to come back day one. They're just gonna walk in and go, well, I got mine, what's the problem? But about 6 kids that we know of have moved and did not return their device. So we expected a little bit of that, but 53 devices total are not coming back. It's a lot bigger number than we expected. Last week, you guys approved Jason Adams, our new instructional technology coach that Megan mentioned a minute ago. He's been in already, kind of getting his feet wet. He hasn't started yet, but he is getting started. He's not an IT person. He's a teacher, teaching position, even though his desk is in my office. He'll be helping those teachers, or all the teachers with using instructional technology in their lesson plans and how to do that. Our handbook, let me slow down. Our handout process is different this year. So parents are gonna go online to myschoolbucks.com. They're gonna sign up, take the insurance, don't take the insurance, whichever. And watch my little 7-minute video. All of our policies in our laptop handbook are right there. They click the little box to attest that, they read it and watched the video, and they take responsibility for the device, and then they can pay, or if they decline the insurance, it'll just allow them to go through. We'll pull a report of that. And the week of the conference days, we're gonna take the Chromebooks that are ready to go. The parents have done their thing, gone on myschoolbucks.com. We will take those to the homeroom classrooms, and they will be ready on day one for teachers to hand out. They'll go through the student pledge for laptop use. Kids will sign it, here's your Chrome. So that's kind of our process this year. We know not everybody's gonna do it. Joe and I are gonna be here on Tuesday night, the 7th, to help anybody that just couldn't get it done online if they had issues. We've also had we've had 2 people take my option of I'll pay in cash, which is fine. I'm taking the insurance, but I'll pay in cash. So they'll come in that night and give us cash, or they'll send it in with their student. There's a new reopening page Joe put out today, a link. It's in the banner on the top of the web page. It's right there. It talks about all the questions we've been getting, and school tool accounts, busing info, which is ready, but not up in school tool yet. I'm hoping to get it uploaded tomorrow. All those questions we've been getting about reopening are now in that one page for reopening. We did a similar thing last year. And then lastly, I just want to talk about data privacy real quick. You guys met Michelle Jones last week. She is helping us a great deal with getting in line with Ed Law 2D and getting our data privacy agreements done. We dumped about 38 needed data privacy agreements on Michelle, and like 12 of them are already done, and most of the rest are like very, very far along the path of being done. And there's only been 2 refusals by the company saying, no, we're not signing that. And the good news with that is they were both by a teacher who left, so we're okay there. But I'd actually like to turn it over to Michelle for a minute.
So it's true, my name is Michelle Jones, and I've been working as part of your team on data privacy, data protection initiatives, and I think this is the beginning of our relationship. I'm actually your intern. So among other things, I'm your administrative intern. Before that, I was an attorney. So it's really hard to be a school administrator, and being a recovering attorney is difficult, so I'm learning. Joe was kind enough to invite me in, and then certainly the entire administrative team has made me feel very welcome, and I appreciate that. But to David's point, we've started our work for the Rensselaer City School District. Our job really collectively is to make sure that your vendors that you use in classrooms, all the innovative technology that you're using, that you can access every day. And we're trying to make that into a safe environment. Our goal is to protect our students, protect our staff. And so that's part of the work that I get to do on your behalf from Capital Region BOCES. I'm the data protection officer for Cap Region BOCES. I'm also a deputy director of risk mitigation and compliance for NARIC, a division of Capital Region BOCES. And so it was really a good fit to work with David. David likes to use our resources. And for that, I was really pleased to see, David was talking to a couple of people today on our team, our data privacy team. And so we hope to be able to bring that to Rensselaer City School District. And thank you, Joe, for inviting us in to do the work. And just thank you so much for welcoming me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dave? Yeah. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to be here last week when you had Mr. Adams.
Yeah.
Just a clarification, because I missed it. He is actually assisting the teachers with their technology.
Yeah, he's an instructional technology coach.
So
He'll be going into classrooms, helping them, going in, taking their class and letting them go watch somebody else do something, just helping in general. We're still, that's the big part of it, but there was other stuff we'll,
Oh, I
we'll
just-
have to
I
do. But
just
yeah, that's
kinda
really what
missed
it's
it as you
there
went through it.
for, is to help them
Thank
learn how to integrate it.
Jim, I just want to speak to that position just very quickly. We just went through a year where we used technology in a way that we weren't used to using technology, and we grew in ways we never imagined that we would. And I think it's our duty to make sure that we can leverage that moving forward. We have a new familiarity with technology in a way that we didn't before, and now we need to make sure that we apply it in ways that still engage kids and utilize this strength. So the timely investment in that position, which was scheduled to be created before I even got here, but got wiped out of the budget because we couldn't get it done. But now with the ARP funding, it really is a useful position for us to leverage everything we've grown in, the good parts of the past year, not the bad parts, to make sure we can get something out of all of that time.
Joe, just so we're on the same page, remember, I'm a nerd, I'm all in favor.
No,
I just needed a little clarity so I knew what was going on.
listen, you brought it up, I'm grandstanding for everybody in the camera right now.
You like the TV camera.
No, I don't, I like the radio. I'm telling you.
Dave, thank you, and if you wanna do a field trip to get those Chromebooks that go with you.
I think we should send the resource officer. I'm on missions door to door.
Yeah, he'll tell you that's not his job, but that's okay. So Dom, what do you got for us in high school?
Yeah. So first thing, like Jeff said, it was awesome to have summer school. First off, I'd like to thank the teachers that dedicated their time to come in. Wouldn't have been able to do it without them. We had around 60 kids come in and recover credit. So we had a lot of kids that were behind, obviously, from the past year. And, you know, I would say, you know, we probably lost a couple here or there. We had a 50-something kids come in, get at least 1 to 3 credits to put them on a path where they can be at a graduation requirement when they're supposed to be. So very, very helpful for us. We look forward to being able to do it again next year, and I just really want to thank the teachers for coming in and doing that. The second thing is, after we had all that credit recovery, then it was like a big stress on our guidance department, especially Brandy Sensi, who's done a tremendous job. I was in having her do millions of changes for master schedule, and she, really knocked it out of the park. Kind of able to do everything that we need to do. We moved back from a block schedule to our regular period schedule, and we had to do all that in a very tight window. And she was able to kind of get what we had planned done in there. Big thank you to her. The other thing is we will have 7th grade orientation coming up September 3rd. So we had a letter out welcoming all our 7th grade students and parents in. So we'll do that orientation on September 3rd. It's nice to get back to a little bit of normal. And what we were able to do towards the end of the year, we were able to focus on our students that are a little bit ahead and our struggling students. And we were able to come up with kind of 2 different things. So pretty excited to release this. So we were able to add some extra college courses to our offerings. So currently now for the 21-22 school year, we'll be offering 12 college classes throughout. So a total of 36 credits that the kids can get. I'll run through them real quick and kind of let you know a little bit about them. But we offer health through Sage College. Something that every student gets in our school. We usually take it in the 10th grade year if they can fit it in their schedule. If not, it may go in the 11th grade year if they can't get into it in 10th grade. But that is a college credit that every student gets. We're able to offer U.S. history through Sage this year. It's a course offered in 11th grade. I want to thank Laura Frasco. She stepped up and jumped through the hoops that we needed it to at the end of last year to kind of get that set. So that'll be a new class that we've offered in the past, but now it'll be offered for college credit. Music theory through Sage. Mike McGill is actually going to teach that distance learning this year. So he'll have our students in there and broadcast out to some other students. He's doing a great job with that. Government, which all our seniors take through Sage, Kelly Connor. That'll be a new offering this year. We always have government, but we'll be able to offer it for college credit this year. So want to thank Kelly for that. We have advanced bio from UAlbany. Cindy G does a great job with that. Spanish 4, Deb Scalar through UAlbany. We've offered for a while. Trish Steck teaches our college English through UAlbany. She stepped up and took that over when Denise Wright retired. So Trish has done a nice job with that. Happy to be able to announce that we are able to bring back in Calc 1 and 2 this year. We were only able to offer it in distance learning the past couple of years, but Jackie Shack has jumped through the hoops and will be teaching Calc 1 and 2 offered through Hudson Valley this next year. We have 20th century history, Mr. Hoffman, psychology, Mr. Hoffman, both offered through Hudson Valley. And we do have one distance learning sociology class. It's actually taught through Shelmont, and we just log on and participate. And that's a Hudson Valley credit too that kids can get. So really a lot of opportunity. We're happy to see that. We're constantly working with Joe. It's exciting to be able to look at things that we offer and get in and try to get them college credits for the kids that excel.
Not to interrupt you, but like last year we had almost nothing. Is that correct?
So we had
Nine.
We had 9? No, I thought we had like 3.
Yeah, so what we added we had U.S. history, we added government, and we added Calc 1 and Calc 2, so we added 4.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I don't know if you have a history, but we have 12 classes. We've probably added 9 of them in the last 3 years.
Yes.
So Dom, it wasn't it wasn't a regular year for them to meet with their guidance counselors face to face on regular contact to prep for this, but this information obviously went out to those that are available to take it. And
Correct.
There's been interest, and we're going to
Definitely.
try to pursue that.
And also what really helped Calc 1 and 2 is counselors did a nice job of getting out. Hudson Valley offered college credits that students could take over the summer. And we had a handful of kids take pre-calculus through Hudson Valley so they could get into calculus 1 and 2 for next year. So
I
very
can
good.
speak to the kids, doing really, really well. And, I have kids who did well and got a ton of credits going into, their 4-year programs at SUNY schools. And it worked out really well. And, they learned a lot. I'm really impressed with our teachers who are able to deliver that curriculum. And it's really been great. And I think, Joe, this speaks a little bit to sort of the retention of the older students within the school district to be able to offer these, so that kids actually stay here so that they know they can get that. It's great. Nicely done.
Definitely. And then Megan spoke a little bit about alternative education. I'm not going to speak much about it because it's a good intro to Amy's presentation. But I want to thank Barb and Andrew for being here tonight, because I don't know if I'll get to thank them after. And Amy and PPS for all the support in that. We've really been, I know Barb's going to be super excited. She's been dancing and stuff, but we've really been, trying to get back into that. We have some kids that really need that program, and we were able to kind of find a way to, by begging, borrowing, and stealing, and putting in a couple new positions to be able to kind of get that going. It's very exciting. So.
Could I just say something about the college classes? My daughter took, in her senior year last year, took courses up at SUNY by Regeneron, and she did so wonderful there. It was such a great, she got 15 college credits going into St. Michael's this year. And it cost me $160
Yeah.
for that. It was just
A lot less
absolutely wonderful.
expensive,
She's starting off at St. Michael's as a sophomore because of it.
Yeah.
So it's such a great program. I absolutely loved it. It was fabulous.
Yeah, Jeremy's got some credits too.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about tuition at university, for $75 for the credits, you guys.
So great job, Dom, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and the teachers, I tell you, when I go to them, they're willing to jump, because you have to jump through some hoops to be able to teach those courses.
Yeah.
And they're
Even
doing,
just the registration can be a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Just coordinating between that, but they really do go above and beyond to help.
definitely.
Thanks, Tom. All right, Amy?
And I apologize for trying to get my screen up earlier. I was just anxious because I was running in here a little late.
It's up on the speaker.
Dave, where'd you put it? All right. You said if I push it, it works. There we go. All right. Well, thanks for giving me an opportunity today to talk a little bit about the alternative education programs. When I was last doing my special ed presentation for folks, I talked to you about how we were looking at our resources and kind of reconfiguring to see where we might be able to reutilize staff even within our department. And part of that was to create one of the sections of the alternative program. So I thought that would be a nice opportunity to share out back with you what we're doing and what the plans are. And I don't have that teacher, Jessica Mawad, here, but the other two teachers in the alternative programs are here. You're welcome to join me up here if you want, or sit there. It's up to you. You can hang where you're comfortable.
Right here and.
All right, chime in, Barb. I'm sure that she will.
Come on, Higgs, get on the
So-
stage.
So just starting off, I do want to say kind of very similar to what Dom said. It has been such a great opportunity to kind of cross-pollinate ideas between the pupil services office, between the guidance counselors that are now working with Dom, working on schedules. It's really been a team effort to pull this together to create something a little bit new. And it's really been, I do believe Mr. Higgs, when he says he lives here, I think that you might find a bedroom somewhere in this building. He's here all the time. And Barb has been here and Jess has been here, just continuing to work to come up with this, these programs and the plans. So I just really appreciate having such a great team to work with. It's been phenomenal. As a kind of mission statement for what alternative education is about, this is where we're starting. We might kind of continue to finesse it as we go, but really the mission is to empower students to reach their highest potential, both academically and socially, using a more individualized, flexible, and supportive learning environment. So talking a little bit more about what specifically we're aiming to do for those students is work on building them up to have higher levels of academic engagement, to be able to persevere through challenging subjects, and to increase their achievement no matter where they are, to move them to another level. We want to make sure that we're providing them with a safe, inclusive, and accepting environment. And part of how we're doing that is making it a small classroom settings, making it a smaller than the larger population of the high school feel for them, so that they have a little bit more of that close-knit environment where we can provide some shelter for students that are struggling. We want to foster their strengths and interests to meet their needs. I love the discussion that kind of segued into this presentation about really having that future mindset goal for students, where they want to go after high school. What are their interests? Those kids that might be able to do some of those college courses or have interests in other career paths, that we really use those interests as leverage to get them coming to school regularly and following through. We're going to be really looking at providing some more intensive social emotional supports for students in the program, both through some of the programming that we're doing already, but even in a more targeted and specialized way that we'll talk about a little bit more. Talking about future educational, career, technical interests for students, how we're helping them prepare and plan for the future. And really making sure, again, that we're involving families and communities to create those lasting networks of supports that carry kids through. Because we do a big job here, but we really need to connect these kids that are the most vulnerable with some other sources of support as they're moving through their journey through high school. So that kind of gives you an idea of our goals. They're big ones, right? So a little bit about the kind of population of the students that we're serving through these alternative programs. It's really designed for students that have demonstrated that they're struggling emotionally or behaviorally, adjusting to the school environment, that the social climate of the school might be a little bit difficult for them to manage. They might have chronic attendance issues, where we're really struggling to hang on to them and keep them engaged in school. They're maybe at risk of school failure, not graduating, and kids that we feel like we're not helping them get to reach their full potential, and we don't want to lose them, and we got to do something a little different to get them through. So students that were identified for the program, we used a combination of actually multiple ways we figured out which students would best benefit from the programs. We surveyed teachers, we had teacher input, we had parent input, we had administrator recommendations. Certainly from the special ed world, there were some students in the 9-10 program that were identified actually even through the CSC as saying, you know, it's not necessarily a special ed thing, it's more of they need a kind of an alternative program. So those are some of the ways that we identified which students would be served.
We even have kids who recommend themselves. They'll show up at the door and they'll say, how do I get in here? Or they'll bring their friends, you know. So.
Exclusive.
Very, very kind of small descriptors of each of the programs. So when I first started the conversation, Barb had an existing program for the upper grade level kids. When I started talking with Dom and Joe about how we might be able to create a 9-10 program, I didn't know that we'd also be able to come out of this year planning for a 7-8 grade program as well, which is Mr. Higgs is going to teach, and Barb is very excited about it too. But this was actually even more of more than I had expected for next year, so that's really nice. The plan is to hire an aide for the classroom in which Mr. Higgs is going to be teaching. The students in that 7-8 program, there's a few differences from the other two. They're going to be doing a combination of pushing out of that classroom and receiving some instruction within that structured environment. It's serving a little bit more as like a home base in Mr. Higgs' class, but they're doing a little bit more moving in and out. And that program isn't really servicing students with special ed needs. We don't have a special ed teacher pushing in that program. One of the things that we did over the summer as we were planning for the school year is to work in the pupil services office to identify which social workers, school counselors, psychologists we're going to kind of pair up with each level of these alternative programs in order to make sure that they can provide some kind of really consistent support pushing into those classrooms, working individually with those students, and also delivering some programming. So Kimberly Manicus is the school psych that works with secondary students, and she's going to be pushing in and also doing some pull out with those students. And we have some of our good prevention programming that's being delivered to all of our 7th graders that they will also get. Teresa Dark-Angelis doing the Too Good for Drugs and Violence and Positive Action that's going to be delivered through teachers in the special area classes. So that's kind of a little bit at a glance. Mr. Higgs, is there anything you want to jump in and add?
I think you got it.
Yeah, I'm giving.
He's excited.
Very excited.
For the 9-10 program, this teacher of this program is Jessica Mawad, who is a special ed teacher. And this is a little bit of the inverse of Mr. Higgs' program. So the students in the 9-10 program are primarily going to stay right in that classroom, and we're pushing in some gen ed teachers to teach some of that content. So we have a little bit more of that containment for them, a little bit more of that sheltered learning environment for the 9-10 group. And they also have access to some special education supports within the class because of Mrs. Mawad being in there. We also have a weekly push-in for counseling happening and targeting student needs, and the prevention programming at the 9th grade level is the same here as well. And then for the 11-12 program, that's with Mrs. Capizola here. She and I'm not sure how to say that last name. Mr. Jason W. is whatever I'm calling him. So they're gonna pair up to teach that 11-12 grade class. And that one's a little bit different as well because these are students that we're moving towards the end game here. So they're doing a lot of the credit recovery, Apex in combination with some of the courses that are gonna be taught. And Barb, I could let you take it away a little bit if you wanna chime in about kind of your model. It's something that you've been doing for a long time. She's the master here.
I was counting a little while ago, and this will be my 17th year here, I think, and 36th year altogether, so, I don't know, I'm pretty amazed. Anyway, the program, has morphed, back and forth. We did work with 11th graders previously, it's primarily been 12th graders. I don't know if you're aware, it's been set up for about 10 kids in the program. For the last few years, we've stretched that number like 15, and when you're graduating the class of 65, that's a good chunk of change there.
We appreciate that, Barb.
You're just that good with all that experience.
Anyway, we try to make it a comfortable place for kids. We want kids to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have kids walk in and there is no way they see themselves getting to the finish line. And we just start where they are, piece by piece, and start building credit. The seniors take, English 12, contemporary issues, government, economics, college prep, math. And then after they got those things, we go, oh yeah, you didn't pass this science, and you gotta make up this. And what do you mean you have 3 gym credits? Or you need 3 gym credits this year. So, we try to sort out those things and figure out a way to make those things happen. Andrew was my teaching assistant for the last 6 years, and all those, teachers have been pushing him and trying to find ways to get him to get certified so that, he could take over that job. But, the job is basically to form relationships with kids, get kids to re-engage, help them to see a way, and to start just piecing it together and getting there. This year, we're gonna add 11th graders back into the program. We've worked with 11th graders and 10th graders and whoever else shows up at our door, but primarily just assisting them with their other work and squeezing them in wherever we could. But 11th to 12th graders, now we'll have 11th grade English, 11th grade US history, which is my favorite of all time. And, get kids in and involved. Done a lot of project-based learning in the past, not during remote COVID learning, but in the past, we've done a lot of project-based or problem-based learning. And just trying to, focus on things like getting ready for what's next, learning how to communicate a little better, and just problem solve, or just to get them to advocate for themselves, or just to get them to, I hate math. Yeah, okay, but we're doing it anyway, and let's start here instead of there. Let's start with what you know, or at least start building blocks. So, I don't know. It just seems every year is different. Every year we just figure out who they are, what they need, and move forward with that.
Well, I've had the opportunity to see Barb in action when I was providing some counseling services for a few years in the building, and as passionate as she is in front of us, she's very good with them in the classroom as well, and it's been nice to see, and thank you, Barb, for all those years.
I was just going to say, I love your enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
really,
love that.
I know why the kids come knocking at your door, and I'm sure Mr. Higgs is the same way.
It's one of the first things I tell them when they come in. This is me all the time.
Do you live on Red Bull?
No. I do like my coffee, but even without it, there's a lot of this, so I have to warn them sometimes because they'll tell me ratchet it back a little, give me a little time.
That's just what they need. They need a little bit of bark, right? Give them that boost.
Yeah.
So as you can see, really, we have a nice kind of range now, a nice kind of continuum and trajectory for students that need that kind of different approach to learning to keep them engaged. So we'll also be pairing up Brandy Sensi and our new guidance counselor at the secondary level, Chris Labatag. And part of the reason for that too is that they're going to be helping them constantly. What's the goal, right? What's the end game, and how close are you? What do we need to focus on next? So that's kind of the trajectory through. Really excited that we were able to pull together an alternative ed orientation just for them. Oh my God. So get them in, give them an opportunity gonna have to go to.
Yep, we're gonna get them into the building, kind of give them an overview.
Want me to take over, Ann?
Give them an overview of what the program is going to be like. Get them involved in some team building activities, do a meet and greet with the staff. We like to, and what we like to do is we like to tell the kids we're in the success business. And we're gonna focus a lot on, getting them to realize that they can be successful. I don't know, what else we got?
They made a beautiful
What do
flyer.
You made cookies?
I'll read
Did you talk about, one of the things we wanted to make sure that we did was use that time to say, teach us a little bit about you before the school year starts so that we can kind of know what were the things that kind of got you here? What were the triggers for you when you were out in the larger school that we need to know about so that we can plan on working on those issues and helping you to be successful right from day one. So having the PPS staff working with them to do some interviews and get that information before the school year starts even, we really think is gonna be helpful, so. And lunch is always good. Pizza, ice cream sundaes, trying to make it enticing to have them come back in September, so. That's the end. I think it's good that's the end, because you don't want to hear me happy here. Does anybody have any questions?
One,
This makes me excited.
Yes,
Could you go
sir.
back the slide, could you actually try and pronounce,
Which one?
pronounce Jason's last name?
Why should I know? That's, someday I'll meet Jason and all that. How to pronounce his name, I haven't met him yet.
Oh, you mean Jason W?
Yeah.
I have a prediction, Jim, Jason's gonna have a big name. Old wife's here.
With a name like Prabhakaran, I have to give my best effort, because people have to give their best effort for me, so.
Yeah, I think it's my first question, when he gets here on Tuesday. and
Okay.
Get that straight. I've dragged Capizola around with me all the time, and, most people get pretty close. It's the spelling that, brings the heart out.
Any other questions? Thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it, and I'll be excited to share with you more special ed stuff next time I talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have to tell you, despite the last year in COVID, we've really had some really wonderful things happening in the district, and we're doing some great things, and it's just so nice to hear this, right?
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Exciting. We're gonna
This
have a great year.
excites me. This is my nerdness right here. Is Bill with us tonight?
Bill's big brother Dom over here is
Dom.
gonna present for him.
The doppelganger Dom.
Yeah, this is over.
Rose Beth Senior.
Dom's bad.
I can do a sports pickup.
Thanks, Barb.
One of the many, probably.
And I gotta let this load. I gotta pop out real quick. Is anybody after me or no? By the way.
No, but
Actually, you gotta load, I can talk for just a minute.
Sounds good. Add it up and then shut down.
I have it printed right now for you, Dom.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was what I'm doing.
All right.
Okay, I was gonna do this, but Jen would like to. Go ahead.
Back off.
My boss said she's taking it.
I was hoping Officer Salmon could give us an update on his position with the department and maybe introduce his partner next to you.
All right. So, I'll be here for a couple days at the beginning of the year to get the new guys settled in, but I've been promoted to sergeant. It was a tough decision. I'm gonna miss everybody here. I'm gonna miss the kids. And I just wanna say thank you to everybody for taking me in and making me feel like part of the family. So, thanks again, and this is who's gonna be taking over. It's not as good as me. Tell me your name.
Tell me your name.
I always mess it up.
I have a long name as well. Dalton Austin Micho. I just go by Dalton Micho. I've been on the department for 3 years. Grew up in Malaysia, went to Ichabod training, played basketball against you guys.
You guys got a lot of snow days.
We're known for that.
We don't get that.
I do too. But he's told me great things about pretty much everyone here. I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, and I can't wait for this school year.
Thank you. Welcome.
So when I got the phone call this afternoon that was happening,
See how tight-lipped I can be?
yeah, you do keep secrets. I may have had a few choice words before I recalled that we had the same conversation when John Mooney Jr. left us and was promoted, and we got Tyler, who ended up being awesome. So I'll expect the same pattern. Shelton, we're gonna embrace. This is gonna be awesome. We're gonna have a good partnership, and then someday you're gonna get a promotion. And I'll curse again. It'll be okay. But we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. And Tyler, thank you for your time here. I know that I had opportunities to see you in action with the youth and coming to events outside of school and in the community, and they're very receptive to you, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. All right, I'm ready. Yeah, so, fall JV and varsity sports started this past Monday, so August 23rd. Modified football is gonna start August 26th, which is tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other modified sports will start on August 30th, which will be Monday. Numbers are good for most sports. Modified soccer is low, and it's not starting until next week. They're hoping for a couple more signups with that. High-risk sports will begin COVID testing weekly on 8/31. So that would be volleyball and football. An information session was held last night to explain the process and procedure to parents, along with answering questions. And I think we have that available too, if anybody needs to see it. Whenever students are indoors, so if most of our practices are outside for the fall, when they are inside, they'll have to be masked to be able to practice. When they're outside, they won't be required to wear a mask. And Billy just wanted to say he's working with Chuck on busing to hopefully make all the trips work. And that's all I got for sports. Any questions there?
No, thank you. Happy to see them back out there.
Good end, because it transitions to the next thing I was going to bring up. Chuck, you want to give us a little update on the bus runs that we're gonna post and we're gonna upload in the next 12 hours or so?
It's my turn, right? No, yeah, I
2 minutes or less.
I will confirm what Dave had mentioned earlier, that the run's are ready to be posted.
Okay.
So now it's on you.
You have to actually give them to me too.
Then it'll be on you.
Okay.
But for the most part, I just want to get everybody up to speed and thank everybody for making this as smooth of a transition as possible. I think I was on Amy's phone 4 or 5 times a day sometimes, bugging her for information and stuff. Summer school from our end of it went seamless. The drivers, I can't thank them enough for helping me along this transition. No questions, they knew what to do, they knew how to go about it. The kids were great all summer long. It really was a fun experience. Even being out there driving some days, I got to see them firsthand, and they were just in a good mood every day, which makes the job very, very thankful. We did a food program for Questar. Again, the kitchen staff, every day we showed up, they were right on point. The stuff was ready for us, waiting outside. They helped us load it. We got the food delivered on time. It was just a really, really good transition, and I couldn't be more grateful for the people I've worked with. And you know, in the big scheme of things, if anybody ever wants to know the inners of how a transportation department works, I ask them to reach out, because it really is intriguing to see all the little odds and ends. We're always available to give you a tour of the garage, and I don't think it's any secret. If anybody happens to know a driver that might be looking for a job.
I was gonna ask, how bad is that?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it could be worse, but it could be better. We'll make it work. We will find a way, we will make it work. So the bus will be there on the first day of school. I guarantee it. I might be the one behind the wheel, but the bus will be there on the first day of school. But no, it was a great summer. So I'm looking forward to the school year. The runs are ready. Now it's just putting everything into play.
It's a good point, Chuck. special thanks to our drivers. They are
Right.
professionals. They're there all the
They were
time.
great, you know what?
They were there driving when everybody else was staying home last year. Like,
Yes.
This is our professional crew. Just so you know, I didn't tell our administrative intern that they're required to drive bus to the internship, but we'll
I
work
was
on
trained
that.
your bus staff, if you don't make me drive a bus. I wrote the curriculum.
It's not as bad as people think, it really, I'll change your mind, it's a great career.
Dalton, you drive bus?
See if you wanna come back?
How awesome would that be to see a uniformed police officer pull up and get on the bus? Sit down, we're not gonna have a problem today, all right? Thanks, Joe.
You got it.
So, that's all of our reports. I'll have to request an executive session
Sure.
for negotiations.
So I'm gonna motion to go into executive session, so we're gonna take a brief meeting outside of the room and then come back in. You're welcome to wait for us or for the remainder of the meeting if you'd like, right, Joe? Or we'll be
Yep.
back briefly.
And I'll ask the board, based on the conversation we're gonna have, that Megan, Jeff, and Dom join us, and she and then always. Okay? Guys, when we're done with, that concludes the presentations. When we come back, we'll motion for the remainder of the agenda, likely, and then we'll close the meeting. That's what's left to happen. Everyone is certainly invited to stay. If you stay, just remember your live stream.
I will mute while you guys are gone.
Okay.
So behave.
I will motion.
A second?
Second.
All?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Furnace.
I guess there's no reason to mute since I'm the only one left.
Oh, it's just you and me now, huh?
What's that?
It's just you and me now, huh?
Yeah, I actually unmuted because I thought I was alone. No, it's okay. I don't know how many people stayed on. We got 6 people. I'm gonna go ahead and mute again. How you been?
on the.
You are on mute.
Oh,
It's gotta be loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna motion to come out of executive session.
You got Larson in there, Shaylin?
Jim's over in Woodstock.
Keep it together up there, all right?
I never had it together, what do you mean?
That's true.
No, I think you
Thank
can
you.
motion to approve all but that item and then vote separately.
Okay, so I'd like a motion to approve new business, A through H, leaving out C, please. Am I correct?
I'll motion.
Second.
Yes.
All?
Aye.
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 All right. So I'd like to make a motion to vote on C. A motion is needed to approve the memorandum of agreement between Rensselaer City School District and the Rensselaer Teachers Association effective July 1, 2021. Ratify the Rensselaer Teachers Association August 25th, 2021.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
You can say
No.
Say opposed.
You can say opposed.
Opposed.
No, she says nay.
I said aye.
Yeah, then you make the call.
Oh, anybody opposed?
I am opposed.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, I screwed that up.
I get the hang of it.
And then you
I
need
thought she'd just yell out
Then
opposed.
you need motion to approve the remainder of the agenda.
What's the motion to approve the remainder of the agenda, please?
Motion by Lark.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
You gotta say it, Jim.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Woo!
I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream then.
Yes.
Super excited I saved.
We're out.
Yeah.